Tonight, we're going to talk about something nearly all of us share: work. Because whether you love your job, tolerate it, or secretly daydream about leaving it, work shapes your life more than almost anything else. And most of the time, we rarely stop to question it. If you enjoy these slow explorations into the hidden patterns of everyday life, we'd truly appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribed to the channel. It helps our stories reach others who are also looking for thoughtful company in the still of the night. Now, settle in. Let's begin. The alarm clock. Think about this. At some point in your life, an alarm clock began deciding when you wake up. Not the sun, not your body, not the rhythm of the seasons. A clock. This feels normal now, but for most of human history, it wasn't. Before the Industrial Revolution, work followed daylight, weather, and agricultural cycles. Farmers worked intensely during harvest and slowly in winter. Artisans worked by task, not by the minute. Time existed, but it wasn't measured in 6-minute billing increments. Then, factories arrived. In cities like Manchester during the 19th century, industrial workers were expected to arrive at precise hours. Steam engines didn't wait for moods or morning fatigue. They ran on schedule. For the first time in history, millions of people began selling not just their labor, but their time. And that shift changed everything. Selling time. When you work today, what are you actually selling? Your skills? Yes. Your energy? Absolutely. But more than anything, you are selling hours of your life. This idea was analyzed deeply by Karl Marx. He argued that industrial capitalism separated workers from the products they created. You might spend 8 hours building something you'll never own, or answering emails for a company you'll never fully control. He called this alienation. And even if you've never read Marx, you may have felt it. That strange experience of staring at a screen at 3:17 p.m. and wondering, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? Work as identity. Now here's something even more interesting. When you meet someone new, what's one of the first questions asked? What do you do? Not, what do you enjoy? Not, what are you curious about? What do you do? In modern society, your occupation has become shorthand for your worth, your education, your class, and even your personality. Sociologist Max Weber explored how work became moralized in Western culture. He described something called the Protestant work ethic, the idea that hard work wasn't just economically useful, it was morally virtuous. Productivity became proof of character, busyness became a badge of honor, and resting suspicious. The 40-hour work week. But here's something that feels permanent and isn't. The 40-hour work week. It feels like a law of nature, but it was negotiated. In the early 20th century, labor movements fought intensely for limits on working hours. Factory workers often worked 10 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. It wasn't generosity that reduced hours, it was protest. When companies like Ford Motor Company adopted the 5-day, 40-hour work week in the 1920s, it was partly strategic. Workers with weekends became consumers with weekends. Leisure created markets. Even rest was folded back into productivity. The office. Then came the office. Rows of desks, fluorescent lighting, the hum of air conditioning. The sociologist Irving Goffman argued that social life is a performance. We present different versions of ourselves depending on the stage. The workplace is one of the clearest stages. There is your professional self, your email voice, your meeting face. You may laugh differently, sit differently, dress differently. You manage impressions. And sometimes that performance is exhausting. Remote work and the blurred line. Then something interesting happened. Technology untethered work from place. The office entered the home. The pandemic accelerated this shift dramatically. Overnight, kitchen tables became desks, bedrooms became conference rooms, and something subtle broke. Without the commute, Without the clear boundary of leaving a building, many people felt time dissolve. When does work end if you never leave? Sociologically, this is boundary collapse. The line between public and private life fades, and when that happens, identity can feel unstable. The gig economy. There's another shift happening quietly: the rise of gig work. Driving, delivering, freelancing, task completing. On the surface, gig work promises flexibility, freedom, be your own boss. But sociologists note something deeper. Risk has shifted. Instead of companies carrying long-term responsibility for workers, individuals absorb the instability. No guaranteed hours, no benefits, no predictability. Freedom and precarity exist side by side. Work and status. Work doesn't just pay money, it distributes status. Certain professions carry prestige. Others, despite being essential, are undervalued. During crises, society often calls certain workers heroes. But once the crisis fades, wages rarely change to match that praise. This reveals something uncomfortable. Value and pay are not always aligned. Instead, they reflect power structures, historical inequalities, and cultural narratives. The dream job myth. Modern culture also sells us an idea. Find your passion. Do what you love. You'll never work a day in your life. But sociologists argue this can blur boundaries further. When your identity and passion are fully fused with your job, burnout becomes personal. Failure feels existential. Work once provided income. Now it promises fulfillment, purpose, community, identity, and meaning. That's a heavy load for any single institution to carry. Why we keep working. So, why does work dominate our lives so completely? Because modern society is organized around it. Healthcare is tied to it. Housing depends on it. Social circles often form through it. Retirement defines the end of it. Even our weekly rhythm revolves around it. Monday dread, Friday relief. We don't just work inside society. Work structures society. A quiet reflection. But here's a quieter question. What would your life look like if work was just one part of it instead of the central pillar? In some countries, shorter work weeks are being tested. 4-day schedules, longer parental leave, extended vacations. These experiments raise an important sociological idea. Work is not fixed. It evolves. What feels inevitable today was once unthinkable. The future of work. Automation is changing tasks. Artificial intelligence is reshaping industries. Collaboration is global. The sociological question isn't just what jobs will exist. It's deeper. How will identity shift if work shifts? If productivity becomes less tied to survival? If hours become flexible? If universal basic income experiments expand? Will we still ask each other, "What do you do?" Or will we ask something else? Tonight, as you settle into rest, notice something simple. You are more than your productivity, more than your inbox, more than your title, more than your hours logged. Work may structure much of modern life, but it does not define the full measure of a person. And perhaps the most radical idea in the sociology of work is remembering that. Tomorrow, when the alarm sounds, you might hear it a little differently.